Is the rationale given to the American people was that Saddam had weapons of mass destruction, and he could give those weapons of mass destruction to Al-Qaeda, and we could have another September 11th. And now we read that there is no evidence, according to the Senate Intelligence Committee, of that relationship. You said there's no involvement. The President says there's no involvement.
Tim, no involvement in what respect?
In September 11th, okay. And the CIA said, leading up to the war, that the possibility of Saddam using weapons of mass destruction was low, quote unquote. It appears that there was a deliberate attempt made by the administration to link Al-Qaeda in Iraq in the minds of the American people. There was a story in the National Journal that Cheney authorized Libby to leak confidential information. Can you confirm or deny that?
I have the authority as Vice President under an executive order issued by the President to classify and declassify information, and everything I've done is consistent with those authorities.
Could you declassify Valley Plains' status as an operative?
I've said all I'm going to say on the subject, Tim.
Do you think the President should pardon Scooter Libby?
I've said all I'm going to say on the subject, Tim.
Have you been hunting since February 11th, 2006?
No, sir, that was the end of the season.
No more hunting?
No, I didn't say that at all, but I have not hunted since then, but I ordinarily wouldn't anyway.
Will you go out and hunt again?
I do. I will.
Have you gotten over that incident?
Well, yeah, I don't know that you ever get over it. Fortunately, Harry's doing very well. Harry Whittington.
You've talked to him?
Yes, I have. And he's a good man, and he could not have been more gracious or more generous. But it's not the kind of thing I don't think anybody could ever forget.
Should I be relieved you didn't bring your shotgun in today?
I wouldn't worry about it. You're not in season.
Mr. Vice President, I hope I never am.
Right.
Thank you for sharing your views.
Thank you, Tim.
I'm Tom Brokaw, NBC News, and it is my sad duty to report this afternoon that my friend and colleague, Tim Russert, the moderator of Meet the Press and NBC's Washington bureau chief, collapsed and died early this afternoon while at work at the NBC News Bureau in Washington. Tim had just returned from a family trip to Italy with his wife, Maureen Orth, the writer, and his son, Luke. They were celebrating Luke's graduation from Boston College just this spring.
Also, I had to find, one time they wanted me to find out if there was such a thing as a poison that was undetectable, especially one that seemed to mimic a heart attack, that would kill someone, but it would appear that they had a heart attack. I did find such a thing.
Does this pistol fire the dart?
Yes, it does, Mr. Chairman, and a special one was developed which potentially would be able to enter the target without perception.
The poison was frozen into some sort of dart, and then it was shot at very high speed into the person, so when it reached the person, it would melt inside them, and the only thing would be like one little tiny red dot on their body, which was hard to detect. There wouldn't be a needle left or anything like that in the person.
But also the toxin itself would not appear in the autopsy?
Yes, so that there was no way of perceiving that the target was hit.
The first warrant was served on September 11th of 2001, but was postponed. It would not be until November of 2001 when the police would finally make an attempt to raid Cooper. Cooper's broadcasts at this time had already been looking into the federal government's compliance in the events of 9/11.
One of the things that makes everybody wonder why Bill's life was snuffed out in 2001 was because in June of that year, Osama bin Laden, who was a relative unknown at that time, Bill had been following the news and found a lot of curiosities and went on the air predicting that there would be a major attack in the United States and that it would be blamed on Osama bin Laden, but he was literally the scapegoat that was being used, not truly behind the attacks. So that, I mean, just a few months before the events of September 11th, and then of course Bill's life cut short shortly thereafter.
Supposedly, a CNN reporter found Osama bin Laden, took a television camera crew with him, went into Osama bin Laden's hideout, interviewed him and his top leadership, and he came out and told everybody, within 3 weeks, Osama bin Laden is going to attack the United States and Israel. Now, don't you think that's kind of strange, folks? And I'm telling you, be prepared for a major attack. But it won't be Osama bin Laden. It will be those behind the New World Order. I wonder what Osama bin Laden's targets are supposed to be. And if they don't, if this doesn't materialize in the next 2 or 3 weeks, it will eventually materialize because they haven't succeeded in getting the guns out of the hands of the American people, nor have they succeeded in taking our freedoms away. And so I can tell you with a certainty, they must do something terrible in order to stop this backlash and regain the sympathy of the mass herds of sheeple out there.
That day, what did the president say to you?
The president, in a very intimidating way, left us, me and my staff, with the clear indication that he wanted us to come back with the word that there was an Iraqi hand behind 9/11, because they had been planning to do something about Iraq from before the time they came into office.
Did he ask about any other nations other than Iraq?
No, not at all. It was Iraq, Saddam, find out, get back to me.
And were his questions more about Iraq than about Al-Qaeda?
Absolutely, absolutely. He didn't ask me about Al-Qaeda. And we said, but Iraq had nothing to do with this. And that didn't seem to make much difference.
And we'll continue to work together to achieve peace. That's what we want. Freedom and peace.
Alternate Focus interviews Akai Sharon and Noam Kayut, both veterans of the Israeli Defense Forces. All young Israelis, male and female, with few exceptions, are required to serve 2 to 3 years of active military duty in the Israeli Defense Forces. Sharon and Kayut served during the Second Intifada, a 4-year-long bloodbath that claimed the lives of over 3,000 Palestinians and 950 Israelis. After thorough introspection, these young men have chosen to speak out about their experiences as self-described brutal occupiers of a disputed land. And Sharon and Kayut are not alone. They are members of a new forum for young Israeli Defense Forces veterans called Breaking the Silence.
First I'll give you a quote my Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Israel. One of us interviewed, and he's in a unit, that engineer unit. They're actually, what they're doing is to blow up things, bridges, houses, and the idea didn't do them at the beginning of that. The first time they used them was 9/11. 10 minutes after the airplane hit the tower, the first airplane hit the tower, they were on their way to Jenin to blow up houses. Like that, I can tell you what he said. The soldier that was interviewed, the big brother wasn't looking, wasn't watching. So that's how much things are connected.